Okay, so this is, I suppose, tackling Illustrator's pen, getting used to using the pen tool in Illustrator. This thing works the same as in Illustrator as Photoshop, so it kind of makes some things easy, although the hotkey may be different. Excuse me. I'm all charged up with a good cup of tea, so let's get on with this. So you can see here we've got the pen tool, we can add anchor points, delete anchor points, and all we're really trying to do is define a line. Now, the advantage of the line tool, of course, and I'll start with this 6-pointed star. I've got a practice drawing layer, which is above this one, and you can download these files from the class site. So, just by clicking, I get a straight line. This is kind of funky. And then I can trace around the outside and work out where I want things to fall fairly accurately. Now, I haven't changed anything. You notice the star has kind of disappeared. It's also kind of slightly wonky. When you do this, you'll notice that there's a little circle down in the bottom right of the tool, and that's basically showing you whether it's going to close off. So I'm just going to hit escape, and and I've got a thing I've created here, and I'm not kind of happy with it. I want to change it up a little bit. So there are two options in terms of adjusting stuff with the pen tool. The first is the selection tool, which allows you to select something. In this case, down the bottom here, I can delete it. Select again, delete. Or we can go here, and this allows me to distort the entire shape in Illustrator. Undo. Alternatively, I can go to the direct selection tool. They're called the same in both Photoshop and Illustrator, but if I grab a particular anchor point, undo again, let's see, click on a particular anchor point and then move it around, I can adjust it to suit where I want to position it. So you can see here, there's kind of my star effect. When we actually look at down here in the actual, I suppose, toolbar, we've got the fill color and a stroke color. The stroke color is the outer edge, the fill color is the internal stuff of it. So I'm just going to remove the the fill, and keep the stroke. Now, with these kind of things, and I'm surprised I can't see the properties, if I select this thing, I can adjust the thickness of the stroke. So here I can make it bigger, smaller, etc. Photoshop, it'll be placed somewhere differently, and hopefully I'll dig that up later and do a short little snippet and drop it in here. But, fill color, yes, you can fill with a particular color, or you can select a color. So if I go black, we go white, or whatever. This is all grayscale at the moment, so I can't change it to anything interesting. But you can see that there. And this exercise, again, it's really just trying to get you kick-started on using the tool. So let's go back to the pen tool, and basically all we're doing is tracing the outline of this sort of thing to get a feel for how things go. Reasonably easy. I'd suggest having the fill off. When I'm using a tool such as this, I do actually have the fill off, just so I can see where it goes, because if you notice with the star initially, having the fill on covers things over. So here I've reached the end of the line. I'm just going to tap the escape key, and that ends what I'm doing. I can then start a new line drawing. So if I actually turn the fill onto a fill color and then try and do a more complicated object which zigzags back on itself and then closes off, it should have covered things over, but anyhow, maybe it's just, anyhow, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to select all that, delete all that, and then here, this is now filled, and I've lost the visuals on the windows at the back. So by removing the fill and going back to see-through, I can see what I need to click on. Back to the pen tool, and then just a little window in here, boom, 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 boom. And as I said, you can always change the fills later. Now this time I didn't actually need to hit escape because I basically closed off the circle, which is what that little circle, closed off the pen tool, because that's what the little circle in the bottom corner means, and I'm just back at the start again. Done. If you notice, so once you've got a fill where you want it to be, just use the group selection tool. In Photoshop it's further down the bottom, but I'll try and drop in some stuff about that shortly. And then you can change it to the color you want. So that's the first exercise, and then I'm just going to jump straight onto the second in a moment. So here we've got more on the pen tool basics, and one of the advantages of the pen tool is it can also do really good curves. So starting at the start with the racing car, I'm going to move up a little bit I'm actually going to follow this arrows down here, and I'm going to draw this one back. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the curve of that to match the curve of this. And so this is a little thing involving what they call a Bezier curve. Some fancy maths put together by a Frenchman. And what it does is it defines how a line should curve through involving 3 points. The first is the point that it has to touch, and then it's going to try the side that I'm coming from. So this one, when I place this one, is going to try, and the line's going to try and start from here, follow it through, influenced by that handle and that handle on this one. So it's going to try and curve towards it. And then here, as I come out of this contact point, I'm going to try and curve through there back to here. And here I'll just try and draw that out a little more to get that. And you'll notice this curve here is not where I want it, but the line is done. So this is where we go to the anchor point tool. And we grab this anchor point and we adjust it so it goes where we want it to go. Now this is not quite right. As you can see here, it's curving too much, then curving up the... It's not curving enough down the bottom and curving too much up the top. So I'm going to try and guesstimate where it is. It's going to be off angle, but then I'm just going to use the direct selection tool to select that little point and move it down a little bit. And the nice thing about a tool like this is it's great for doing these curved lines, get nice smooth even curves. So yeah, it's great for that. And anyhow, this one's now done. On to the next. Okay, so now we have something a little fancier involving a house. Spacebar to move the canvas into the center. Alright, so now with the pen tool, we've got some geometric shapes here, and we've also got these windows which have these weird curves going over the top, and of course this bouncing hedge line. So how on earth do we do it? Because when we place an anchor point, it has to go through that anchor point. So the first one, this is easy. Now if you want to make sure things go vertical or horizontal, hold down Shift, and it will do just that. Nice, trick number one. All right, now we're on to trick number two. I'm not going to bother doing the outline of the house, but we'll start with the moon. So here I've got an anchor point. I'm going to draw off in a direction so that it will curve around and then hit that anchor point. I'll draw off in that direction. Now that kind of works. I'm going to escape and actually delete this thing because it's not quite working just the way I want. One of the tricks is you start on an anchor point that has a bit sharp angle, and I'm just going to leave that as a straight anchor point. Then I go midway along the curve and draw that out. That gives me some precise control of where it goes, and I've just covered myself over, so I'll just place that roughly where I think it should be and finish that off. So here with the moon, instead of just doing 2 points, one at each end, what I'm really doing, and I'm just going to remove the fill on that so we can see what's going on in the background. We can then look at how things are positioned. Now with the direct selection tool, we can actually go back in and change those anchor points a little bit. And this allows us to tweak, fix and change what we've been working on. Looks like I've got snapping enabled with it jumping back and forth like that, trying to guess what it wants me to do. So view, snapping, where's snapping? Smart Guides, get rid of that. So here, and a lot of the features in Illustrator are similar to Photoshop, and any Illustrator aficionados will go, oh my God, how dare you say that? But it has a lot of similar features, but the focus of what it does is actually very much different. Anyhow, that's done. And so that gives you a fairly even workaround for this. Now, moving on to the windows. I'm going to start in this bottom corner and go straight up. When I go straight up, I'm going to just draw straight up. Now I need to get across to this point, the other side of that window. Now I could go here, and I could actually probably do that quite easily. So I'll just Control Z to undo that one. Draw up a tiny bit. Hold down Shift to make sure it goes vertical. Hit that middle point, draw out a little, and then over here, draw down a little, and then straight on, and then finally close it off. That kind of works, but there's actually, the curve through here is not even on both sides, and I don't know about you, but that annoys me. So what I'm going to do is go to this one And what you do is you do a curve that draws up a little bit. You go over to here, you do a curve that draws down a little bit, making sure that they're both vertical by holding the shift key. You can then, hold shift, connect that up. Now this one didn't precisely connect, so I'm just going to zoom in and fix it. You can see here, oh, that's kind of wonky. That's okay, easy fix with the anchor point tool. We just remove those handles. Now this point is not directly below here, so direct selection tool should allow for it to move over. And that's looking pretty good. So that way you get that sort of even curve. Now if I wanted to, I could actually select this, say, uppers point, draw that a little higher, if it'll let me. Come on, be good. Yep, there it is. And this one also the same. Now the trick is to keep these two at the same height so you get that balanced curve. Anyhow, ooh, I held down the arrow key and hit the wrong button. Anyhow, undo to take that back a couple of steps. That looks better. Control minus to zoom out, and let's go on with the next piece. So we'll just click off that and move over here. Now this thing will get interesting, because this is where we incorporate the extensive use of the Alt key. So I'm going to go into Pen tool, and what I'm going to do, is I'm going to start here, go straight up. Now I want this point to go over to here and bounce, kind of like that. But I've got this slight problem, and that one hasn't done so. Holding down Alt, I click on this point again, and I draw that out that way. So I've got this little V shape here. Jump over to here, hold down Alt. Oops, I've just broken it. Undo. Let's start that again. All right, so go right back to here. All right, so I've got this, and I want the point from here to fly off and bounce through there evenly as possible. Now it is possible to place this curve centrally along the edge and then terminate here. So doing something like this trick. It's not always going to be even, but it is entirely possible. And it just takes a bit of practice and work through it. But with programs like this, there is always an easy way. So this, what I've just shown you here, is one way to do it. All right, so you hit each endpoint where it's got that sharp turn, and then at the top of the thing you mark out the angles, and that's just like the moon. I'm going to delete that. Oops. Delete the whole lot, not just the bottom line. And we're going to redo it. So this case, I'm going to go here, click again, and hold Alt when I click, and draw that point out in sort of roughly that angle. Go to here. Oops, no, not yet. I've got to go here. I'm only going to do this in one take, so I'm going to just undo back to here and start again. There to there. Hold down Alt, press, while I'm holding Alt and I'm drawing off at an angle that I want the curve to sort of go. So through there. Releasing that Alt key, I'm going to click the next point and draw so that I get that even curve. Now that I've done that, I'm going to hold down Alt and click on that point so that I've reset it, and then draw it out in this angle. I've got a pair of antennas going on here. And then down to the other end, draw it in so I get a nice even curve. Hold down Alt to reset this end point and draw it out in a new direction. So holding down Alt when you're using the pen tool allows you to change the angle of the handles, the Beziers, when doing this sort of stuff. Now I need this one, so I'm going to click and drag that way, but I need to go straight down. So again, tap the Alt, click on the end, and all I've done is reset the point. Hold down Shift to go vertical, click about the right angle, and terminate. So here I've got that sort of even curve. And so it's two different ways depending on how you feel comfortable with the tool. And Photoshopping, as I said, operates the same way. Right. So this is the retro toy poster thing that I'm going to get you to do. But again, basically about the pen tool. Everything's slightly moved in Photoshop versus Illustrator. But if you go down to around here, you'll see the pen tool has a lot of different options. We have the standard pen tool stuff. We have add an anchor point, remove an anchor point, and adjust a curve. under this arrow tool, we have the path selection and the direct selection tool, and mine's going back to direct selection because that's what I've been using recently. So, starting on A here, I'm going to draw out to this final point because I know that gets a smooth curve. Here, I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm going to click and drag so it goes the right way, and then go back, click Alt, and draw out in a different direction. And what I'm trying to, what I'm trying to do is follow the marker points on here. You can see I've already stuffed it up because it doesn't need that one. I want to get rid of this one. That's easy done. Get the direct selection tool and bring this right back to nowhere. And you can see how it flattens off. If you stuff it up, of course, you can always use the convert tool, which will do that to it. I don't know if you can actually adjust it, so I'm just going to cheat a little and bring that out that way. Boom. Doesn't get the smooth curve at the back, but I'm really just mucking around with it. Normally I'd just roll back and just start again. Anyhow, and then so it's just click drag, click drag. Nope, that's just a click, close enough. Click. Now when you hit a point like this, yes, you click into it and do that, but then you go back here, hold down Alt to reset that point so that you can then do an adjustment. Because what you wanted to do is bounce around, and that should do that. Anyhow, I'll zoom in a little bit, so Control++, hold down space to go over to here. That way you can see what I'm doing. And I've just taken I to the wrong point. Woohoo! This is great so far, because these mistakes help you learn. So I'm going to adjust that to there. Now this one is kind of in the wrong spot, and that one I feel should be out a little further, so that follows the shape of the vehicle. Now this is kind of very pixelated and grainy, but that's okay because this is just really a practice task. Now back to the pen tool. Hit Alt, go boom, and then go into there to that. So I get that little curve there. Alt to reset that point into here, around to here, and then into that, which do M. I'm going to suspect that's going to undo, and then hold down Alt, and no, click to that point, and then that seems wrong. LL, that maybe I've stuffed it up again. Not surprising. And then there to there. That curvature doesn't quite look right, so I'll just move this up to here. P O P Q over R S and back to the start. So it closes off the points, and this is kind of where I would go back and actually re-examine this and go, okay, did I do things right? So getting the direct selection tool, I'm going to grab those points and just reset them, and then change the anchor curvature thing to just clear all that out. Yes, it's flat, but now I can actually just go, well, I need to adjust this in the appropriate way to get it to match. And what I'm doing is here, just trying to adjust the handle so I get that outer thing going on, so it covers it. That looks about right. And the trick with these sort of curves is just trying to get a feel for how they operate and what you can do with them. So here I've stuffed up a few points, and really what I'm just trying to do is adjust things to make it look a lot better. So here is the fourth tutorial in the whole sequence. I don't really feel the need to use the pen tool on clicking this sort of thing. Oops, I'll zoom in so you can see. Around the points, and this is text is kind of too small for me to see clearly, but yeah, I mean that kind of, this is most letters, and there's instructions floating around the outside, so you can sort of see that. The V, the E, the T, and all the same, really, really simple. The C and the R are sort of the next level where, oops, it's just jumping back to there on me, where you have to actually follow the step-by-step instructions. So clicking here and dragging up will set that curve upwards. Then follow that down to there. And you can see what I'm doing here. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I'm actually not reading the instruction, I'm just sort of doing it. But here you can see holding down Shift, make sure that what you've clicked and done is gone vertical. Going back to here and tapping Alt will then connect it, so you've got a pivot point. And then holding Shift to go this way, and then holding Alt to go directly down to the further point, and then holding this one and go straight up. Gets the curve kind of on that line, so it's kind of helping you going back to here, clicking on it, and then going up to go up, holding down shift when you go vertical or horizontal just to make your life easier. So here to that one, that gets the C done. Hold back to the start, that point, and go click, and then back to the start point. You should hold shift at this point, but I'm just connecting the dots. What you'll notice here is this one didn't quite go vertical because I wasn't holding shift at that point. You've got that little bend in the line. So holding down shift forces it, and so here you can notice that it's also not kind of flat. It's just off the line a little bit. So we zoom in, you'll be able to see it a little clearer where it is got that little bend in it. One of the tricks I learned years ago when looking at these curved lines is if you get some weird little pixelization or what they call anti-aliasing, where it's not a straight black line either across the screen or up and down the screen, it gives you an indicator that something's awry or missing, or that, yeah, you're not exactly flat. So here you can see that's kind of flat, but that's definitely got a curve in it. That I did, so it follows the dotted line quite well. All right, so now onto the O. The O, again, do it again, starting with this one. So the O starts with the inner ring and then the outer ring. Make sure your fill's off because that way it won't confuse things. And what I'll try and do when I do this is do it so that we can see what's going on. So click drag, Alt, Shift, place, oops, no, not place, it was Shift, click and drag, click and drag with a shift and then connect back to the start. That'll be a little bent because coming across I never seem to match these things up. Alright, that's done. Now for the outer ring, I'm just going to take another step outwards and hopefully follow this okay. So starting here, going down 55, 56, yeah, 57, shift to make sure I go vertical, Alt back to that point and then click drag. I'm holding in shift while I do this. So shift click drag to go to here and then it's over to this one. So shift click drag and then to the final point. And I seem to have stuffed it. Oh no, I did it. No, I stuffed up a bit. I should have dragged a little further. So how do I fix that? Let's go to the anchor point tool and oops, drag it down to there. And I've completely, it's gone awry. Alright. Why is that one not playing nice? So then we'll go back to the direct selection tool, select that one just so I can see that handle, draw that handle up a little bit, and the curved line, which is in yellow and probably really hard to see on the screen, will match up. I can curve it in and out, but if I hold down shift I get that nice vertical lock, and that looks pretty good now. Now, one of the tricks I can hopefully do. So after drawing up the two shapes, fixing up any mistakes that I've had, I'm going to try and combine these. Now, if you look under the windows, there should be the Pathfinder tool, which is another little tool pop up here. So I'm going to just dock that to the top. Notice the blue lines, that's where you're docking it. So if you happen to rip one of these things off, like, I don't know, this, and go, oh, what do I do? Just plug it back in. If you can actually get, yes, there you go. So anyhow, Pathfinder tool. I'm going to select, using the direct selection or the selected thingo, select that, hold down shift, select that. So I've only got those two shapes. They're highlighted in my layer stack. And I'm going to go combine. And one disappears. Brilliant. Z. It will not be combined because I want compound shape intersecting shape area. Nope. There should be a way of difference. Oh, gee, I should actually exclude. Yes, maybe read, Jamie. And then if I change the fill, you get the fill around the edge and not in the side. So you can do that. All right. And so what it's basically doing is this is a cutout of that area. Simple but effective. You can do the same with the R, and just remember to hold the keys as things. I'd actually read through these instructions before you charge off and do it. Now with those pop-up windows, let's just plug that one down the bottom. I actually shouldn't worry about it. And I'll move on to the next one, Fishy. And as you can see, it's a cute little clownfish. So what are we going to do to it? Starting off with our tool setup as usual, no fill, black edges, we can quite simply use the pen tool to trace the edges. Boom, 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 boom. And I think, well, that's as bad as cool as I want my fishy to be. And as you can see, I'm putting maximum effort. With the little fin here, you can just do a little loop in a circle. So I'll just go boom, boom, something like that. And I'll hit escape to finish that one off. All right, so what I want to do with this, and I'm not going to worry about this little piece here, so I'm just going to hide that for the moment. I want to take this outline here, and create what they call a clipping mask. So just like Photoshop, it doesn't want to miss out. So what I want to drop into that is in this background, I want yellow and orange parts. So let's start with just the pen tool, except this time I'm going to flip it and go to, let's say, an orange, then go into this one and make that clear. So what I've got here is when I lay down my points, I've got no edge. It's going to be a bit hard to see, but that's okay. And I'm just going to guesstimate what it will look like and close it off. So that's the first little bit of the fishy. If they find that difficult, well then the easy way is to actually just, oops, I'll leave that one it is, and I'll just select off it. Instead of having an edge, I'm just going to go that and then that see-through, because what you can do is you can always change it later on. So here, click, place something like that. So what I'm looking for when I place my points is what I would call a point of maximum change. So if I place it, draw it out a little, I know it's going to curve through there. I do tend to work vertically or horizontally just because of habit. So that's now done, and because it's still selected, I can then change all this stuff about it. So I can go, oh, I want that orange, and I want that to be see-through. Done. All right, so I've got 2 stripes. I'm not going to worry about the 3rd stripe, and then I'm just going to cheat a little bit, do a rectangle, make that rectangle white. No, I should deselect first, undo, click off, rectangle, change that color to white, and just cover the whole bloody lot. So I have my path, I have my colors, so let's move those colors and stack them on top. And I'm really hoping this will work, because what I want to do is I want to transform that into this one here, my outline, into a mask. So where was it? Clipping mask, make. Oh, it must contain more than one object. Well, let's select all these other objects and go, object, make a clipping mask for me. I do it. Oh. Okay, so it thinks, all right, select, 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 select. I'm holding down shift as I work down this stack. And let's try it for the 3rd time. Yay! I lose the outline. Problem. But you can see how the clipping mask gives me that. Now, if I wanted to actually add this thing, I should be able to duplicate the layer. Select. They don't have a standard duplicate. Copy paste. Did that work? Kind of. Let's go back to here. It's got no edge, it's got no outline. So select the outline, add it, give an edge. I've gone white. Why do I want to go white? I want to have something that pops out. And now I need to move this little guy so he overlaps the original. Something like that, one would assume. Then I get the little guppy fin that I said I wanted separate, and I move it to the top of the stack and make it visible again. And there we can see it popping out, but we want to tidy up that thing. So that little guppy fin should have something like a fill. Boom. No, oops, wrong way. Here I'm having lots of fun with this sort of stuff. There we are. So you can see what I haven't added any details for the face and stuff, but that takes a little more time, and I want to keep this as short as possible. So that's the 5 tutorials involving the pen tool, and it's really just trying to get you comfortable with A, Illustrator, and B, how the pen tool works that you can use in both Photoshop and Illustrator. Thanks for your time.